On a cold December evening, a 10-year-old black girl stepped into a jewelry store, her hands trembling as she placed a small pile of coins on the counter. It was everything she had, saved for months, to buy her single mother a Christmas gift. But when the cashier gently told her it wasn't enough, her smile faded. Then, a woman stepped in, not just into the store, but into her life, ready to change it forever. With a quiet act of kindness, she didn't just help the girl, she opened a door to a future they never dared to dream. It was a crisp December evening, and the streets of New Orleans shimmered with festive lights that danced across shop windows and brick-lined sidewalks. Despite the holiday sparkle, 12-year-old Naomi Taylor barely noticed the decorations. Her small fingers gripped the edges of her thrift store jacket as she waited for the bus with her mother, Camille, outside the Marigny Community Clinic. Camille had just finished another double shift, her pressed scrubs and tightly pulled-back curls doing little to hide the fatigue in her posture and the exhaustion clouding her eyes. Naomi leaned her head against Camille's arm, silent as they watched the number 88 bus rumble down the street, its headlights slicing through the early dusk. Camille smiled down at her daughter and gave her hand a soft squeeze. "Long day, baby?" she asked gently. Naomi shrugged. "You look more tired than me," she replied. Camille chuckled, her laugh soft and full of love, the kind of laugh that wrapped around Naomi like a warm blanket. "That's because I don't have you to help with math all day." Their two-bedroom apartment sat above a laundromat just off Claiborne Avenue. It was small, and sometimes the heater sputtered in protest on cold nights, but Camille made it feel like home with her touch, fairy lights strung across the kitchen, hand-painted quotes taped above Naomi's desk, a worn-out couch that smelled faintly of lavender and vanilla. Every night, even after 12-hour shifts, Camille made dinner from scratch, turning canned beans and day-old bread into something that tasted like magic. And when Naomi struggled with fractions or science vocabulary, Camille was there, blinking away sleep to help her understand. But what Naomi didn't always say out loud was how much she saw. She saw her mom falling asleep at the table with nursing textbooks open in front of her. She heard the soft murmurs of Camille reciting medical terminology in the kitchen while stirring a pot of rice. She knew about the night classes her mom had once taken at Delgado, years ago, trying to earn her RN license until she couldn't afford the tuition anymore and had to stop. Naomi remembered the letter that came in the mail, folded neatly and left unread on the counter for days. A week ago, while walking home, Naomi had caught her mom pause outside a small jewelry shop on Royal Street. It was the only time Camille had ever lingered at a store window. There, nestled in a velvet case, was a delicate silver teardrop locket, engraved with tiny, swirling vines. Camille had touched the glass just for a moment and whispered to herself, "Maybe one day," before pulling Naomi's hood tighter and hurrying to catch the streetcar. Naomi hadn't forgotten. That whisper had settled into her chest like a promise. Now, with Christmas just days away, Naomi was on a mission. She had been quietly saving coins for months. Birthday money, tip change from the corner store, even a few dollars she'd earned from helping Miss Shirley in apartment 3B carry her groceries upstairs. All of it was tucked away in a crinkled Ziploc bag, hidden under her bed behind her shoebox of old drawings. She hadn't told her mom. She wanted it to be a surprise, something real, something beautiful, something that said, "I see you." Naomi knew they didn't have a tree or fancy lights. They never did. Camille always said the season wasn't about stuff, it was about presence. But this year, Naomi wanted to give her mother more than just love. She wanted to give her something that sparkled, just a little, something that said she deserved to be seen, not just as a tired nurse's aide or a single mom, but as someone beautiful, someone important, someone worth everything. She didn't know yet how far her coins would stretch, but she knew where she was going after school tomorrow, she knew which store, and she knew exactly what she wanted. What Naomi couldn't possibly know, standing there beneath the flickering bus stop light, was that her act of quiet determination would soon collide with something, someone, that would change the trajectory of their lives forever. Not through magic, not through luck, but through the power of being seen. The next afternoon, as the final school bell rang through the halls of Beauregard Elementary, Naomi darted out the doors with a sense of purpose that made her footsteps feel lighter than air. The sky above was already shifting into shades of winter dusk, the sun melting into a watercolor of gold and lilac. She clutched her Ziploc bag tightly inside her backpack, feeling the weight of every coin and crumpled dollar she had scraped together. This wasn't just money. It was hope wrapped in pennies and dimes. She walked quickly, weaving through the busy sidewalks of the French Quarter, past musicians tuning guitars and tourists snapping pictures beneath wrought-iron balconies, until she reached the tiny jewelry shop on Royal Street. The storefront glittered faintly with soft yellow lights, its window still displaying the silver teardrop locket nestled inside blue velvet. Naomi hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding, then pushed open the door. Inside, the air was warm and quiet, smelling faintly of cedar and rose. Behind the glass counter stood Mrs. Keller, the elderly white woman with sharp cheekbones and a pearl choker that always sat perfectly on her collarbone. She glanced up, her eyes narrowing slightly as they scanned Naomi's backpack and worn sneakers. Naomi approached the counter, unzipping her bag and carefully placing the ziplock onto the glass. "I'd like to buy the silver necklace in the window, please," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Mrs. Keller looked down at the bag, then at Naomi, then back again. With a sigh, she opened the register drawer, pulled out a small calculator, and began typing. "That piece was part of our holiday sale," she said crisply. "Price went back up this week. It's $29.95 now." Naomi's stomach dropped. She pulled out the coins and bills, her fingers trembling as she laid them out in neat little rows, 3 crumpled $5 bills, a handful of quarters, dimes, and nickels. "I have $17.85, she said quietly. "It's all I have." She looked up, her dark eyes wide and pleading. "It's for my mom. She works really hard. I wanted to give her something special." Mrs. Keller raised a thin brow, then glanced at the coins thoughtfully. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "that's a beautiful reason to buy a gift. But I'm afraid this necklace costs a bit more than what you have here." She hesitated, then added kindly, "I wish I could make an exception, I really do. But I don't own the shop and I have to follow the pricing rules." She offered a small smile, not unkind. "We do have a few lovely pieces in the discount bin over there if you'd like to look, and if you want, I can hold the necklace for a few days in case you come back." Naomi's ears burned, her eyes stung. She began scooping the coins back into the bag, each one suddenly feeling heavier than before. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Please, is there anything you can do? It's for my mom. She doesn't have anything nice, not even jewelry." Mrs. Keller glanced toward a man in a sport coat standing near the entrance, as if silently asking whether she might be allowed to bend the rules. The man gave a small shrug, indifferent. Naomi's heart sank, not because anyone was cruel, but because kindness alone wasn't always enough. Like she didn't belong here. Like she never had. She was just about to turn away, shoulders sagging under the weight of rejection, when a new voice cut through the tension like a warm breeze through cold glass. "I think a mother who works that hard deserves something beautiful. Don't you?" Naomi turned slowly. Standing just a few feet behind her was a tall woman with fair skin, wearing a charcoal trench coat, a soft gray scarf wrapped around her neck, and eyes that radiated quiet strength. The woman smiled, then stepped forward. "Hi there," she said gently, crouching to Naomi's level. "I couldn't help overhearing. Is that necklace for your mom?" Naomi nodded, speechless. "Then I think we should make sure she gets it." The woman stood, pulling a sleek leather wallet from her coat and handing a crisp $50 bill to Mrs. Keller, who blinked twice before hesitantly reaching out to take it. "Let's get it wrapped," the woman said firmly, then glanced down at Naomi and winked. "Something tells me this gift means a lot more than the price tag." As Mrs. Keller disappeared to the back with the necklace, Naomi stared up at the stranger, her lips parting to speak but no words coming out. "My name's Simone," the woman said softly, holding out her hand. "Simone Carter." Naomi shook it slowly, still stunned. "I'm Naomi," she finally whispered. "I wanted to surprise my mom. Simone's smile deepened, but there was something else behind it now, something quiet, observant, like she was seeing deeper than what Naomi had said. She reached into her bag, pulled out a slim business card, and handed it to Naomi. "You're doing something really special, Naomi," she said. "Not every kid would do what you just did." She paused, then added with a touch of curiosity, "Would you tell me more about your mom?" And in that quiet shop, beneath the warm lights and the faint scent of cedar, Naomi began to speak. Naomi sat beside Simone Carter on a velvet bench tucked into the corner of the jewelry shop, the sounds of tissue paper crinkling and tape being pulled from the roll echoing softly behind them as Mrs. Keller prepared the gift wrap. Naomi held the crisp business card gently between her fingers like it was made of glass. Her eyes, still wide with a mixture of disbelief and wonder, kept flicking up to Simone's face. Warm, calm, patient. "You wanted to know about my mom?" Naomi asked quietly, her voice hesitant but growing steadier. Simone nodded. "Only if you're okay telling me. I get the feeling she's someone really special." Naomi looked down at her lap, fingers playing with the edge of her sleeve. "She is," she said. "She works at the community clinic on St. Bernard. She's not a real nurse yet, but she's the one people call when they're scared or sick or don't speak English well. She knows how to calm people down. I've seen her wrap a bandage like it was an art project. She never complains, even when her feet hurt or when she gets home way past dinner. She still helps me with school stuff, even if she's so tired she can barely keep her eyes open." Simone listened without interrupting, her expression shifting as Naomi continued. There was no pity in her face, only something deeper, something like understanding. Naomi's voice grew softer. "She was going to be a registered nurse once, took a few classes at night. But then I got sick a lot when I was little, and she had to work more shifts, and she couldn't pay for school anymore. I think she still wants it. I hear her whisper the names of bones and medications when she thinks I'm asleep. Sometimes she falls asleep on the couch with her books open and her phone set to nursing flashcards. I think she misses learning." There was a silence between them, not uncomfortable but full, charged with meaning. Simone's gaze held something new now, a flicker of resolve. "Your mom sounds like someone who's already doing the work," she said softly. "She just needs someone to make space for her to finish it." Before Naomi could answer, a sharp click of heels echoed across the showroom floor. A woman in a tailored navy blazer and sleek ponytail approached them briskly, her tablet tucked under one arm. "Ms. Carter," she said in a low voice, nodding politely to Naomi. "Sorry to interrupt. There's a situation with tomorrow's shoot, and the location manager needs a decision before 7. Simone gave a small nod, her tone calm but firm. "Give me just a moment." The assistant hesitated, then stepped aside. Naomi looked down again, afraid she'd said too much, afraid this magical moment would disappear the way good things sometimes did. But Simone didn't leave. Instead, she stood, walked a few steps away with her assistant, and began speaking in quiet but decisive tones. Naomi couldn't hear everything, but she noticed the way Simone's expression changed, first surprised, then thoughtful, then sharp with determination. She watched as Simone pulled out her phone, spoke rapidly to someone on the other end, and gestured emphatically with her free hand. After a few more exchanges, Simone nodded, ended the call, and returned to the bench. She knelt in front of Naomi this time, lowering herself to eye level again, and her voice was different now, gentle still, but charged with energy, like she'd just made a decision that couldn't be undone. "Naomi," she said carefully, "can I ask you one more question? It's very important." Naomi nodded. "If your mom could have one wish right now, not counting more time with you because I know she'd pick that first, what do you think it would be?" Naomi didn't need to think long. "To go back to school," she said softly, "to finish nursing. She always says it's her dream, but dreams cost too much." Simone smiled, not the soft smile from before, but something stronger. "Then maybe it's time someone helped her pay the price." She reached into her purse and pulled out a sleek manila envelope, then slid it carefully into the front pocket of Naomi's backpack. "Don't open this until you're home with your mom," she said with a wink. "But tomorrow morning, I want you both to call the number on my card. Promise?" Naomi blinked back tears and nodded. Simone leaned in, brushing a curl from Naomi's forehead with a tenderness that made the little girl's throat tighten. You just wanted to give your mom something small, something shiny. But sometimes the most powerful gifts aren't the ones we wrap in boxes. They're the doors we open for people we love. And from what I've heard, your mom's already earned her way through that door. She just needs someone to hold it open." Just then, Mrs. Keller returned, holding out the neatly wrapped box with a silver locket inside, her tone still professional but softer than before, as she said, "Here you go. It's all wrapped. I hope your mom loves it." Simone rose, thanked her with grace, then turned back to Naomi. "Let's get you home before it gets too dark," she said. "I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be a very big day." And as they stepped out onto the glowing sidewalk together, Naomi didn't know what waited inside that envelope, but she knew, deep in her chest, that her mother's someday might be closer than ever. The next morning broke clear and cold, sunlight stretching across the cracked windows of their apartment above the laundromat on Claiborne Avenue. Inside, the tiny kitchen smelled faintly of cinnamon toast, but Naomi barely touched hers. The manila envelope Simone had tucked into her backpack now sat in the middle of the kitchen table, untouched like a sleeping secret. Camille stood nearby, still in her robe, arms crossed over her chest, her brow furrowed in quiet confusion. "Naomi, what is this?" she asked, her voice low, wary. Naomi hesitated for a heartbeat, then took a breath. "It's from someone I met yesterday. She helped me buy your gift." Camille's eyes softened, but only slightly. "You mean the necklace?" Naomi nodded, then added, "She asked me about you. I told her everything, about your job, your dream, about nursing school." Camille's mouth parted slightly, a flicker of emotion crossing her face, surprise, then something deeper. She reached for the envelope with slow fingers, then sat down, the old kitchen chair creaking beneath her. Inside the envelope was a neatly typed scholarship application form for the Louisiana State University School of Nursing, partially filled out, with Simone Carter's signed cover letter attached. There was also a breakdown of projected costs, tuition, books, lab fees, child care, and a note in bold, pending final approval and interview. Her name wasn't signed yet, but the space was there, waiting. Like the dream had already begun and just needed her hand to claim it. There was also a handwritten note, folded separately. In looping cursive, it read, "Camille, you've already proven your strength. Let this help you prove the rest. Simone." Camille's hands trembled. She stared down at the papers, then at Naomi. I don't understand. I never asked anyone for this." Her voice cracked. "Why would she do this for us?" Naomi looked up at her mother, her voice quiet but steady. "Because I told her how amazing you are, how hard you work, how you never stopped wanting more, even when you had nothing left to give, and because maybe someone finally saw you the way I do." Camille pressed her hand over her mouth, her shoulders trembling as years of weight, of quiet sacrifice, of silent dreams deferred, cracked under the sudden light of possibility. With shaking fingers she reached for the business card tucked beside the application. The name printed in bold letters confirmed everything: Simone Carter, filmmaker and advocate. Naomi watched as her mother dialed the number, holding the phone to her ear like it might vanish. On the third ring, a calm voice answered. "Miss Taylor? We've been expecting your call. Miss Carter asked us to walk you through the next steps. Are you available for an admissions interview this week?" Camille sat frozen for a second, her lips parting in disbelief. "Yes," she managed. "Yes, I am." The rest of the day unfolded in a blur. Camille moved like someone underwater. Reading, rereading, then calling the clinic to adjust her schedule, pulling old notebooks from the closet, staring at the open pages like they were pieces of a life she thought she'd buried. Naomi stayed close by, helping when she could, watching with quiet pride as her mother stood a little straighter, her voice a little stronger with each passing hour. That evening they sat curled up on the worn couch, the wrapped necklace resting in Camille's hand, its silver surface glinting in the lamplight. She turned it over slowly, like it held more than just metal, like it held time and sacrifice and the hope of something reclaimed. She looked down at Naomi, who was nestled into her side, and whispered, "You've always thought I was taking care of you. But look what you did, baby. You took care of me." Naomi smiled, her eyes wet. "That's what family does, right?" Camille nodded, holding her daughter close as the locket warmed between their palms. A small gift born from a big love, now the symbol of a future finally waiting to unfold. 4 years later, on a bright spring morning that smelled faintly of jasmine and new beginnings, Naomi sat in the front row of the LSU Health Sciences Center auditorium, her hands clutching the heart-shaped locket her mother had worn every day since that Christmas Eve. Now 16, she had grown taller, her curls longer, her gaze sharper, but her heart still swelled the moment she spotted Camille walking across the stage in a deep purple gown, her nursing pin catching the light like a promise fulfilled. Camille moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had climbed a mountain barefoot, each step forged from grit and grace. Her name was called. Camille Taylor, Bachelor of Science in Nursing with honors, and the room erupted in applause. Naomi's throat tightened as she rose to her feet, clapping so hard her palms stung, tears streaming down her face. Just behind her, dressed in a simple navy dress with no camera crews or entourage, Simone Carter smiled and gently squeezed Naomi's shoulder. "Look what your love started," she whispered. Naomi turned toward her, the locket pressed against her chest, and nodded without speaking. Words weren't enough. After the ceremony, the three of them stood beneath the towering oak trees outside the hall, the Louisiana sun pouring down like gold. Camille held her diploma close, her fingers trembling around the edges, as if afraid it might dissolve in her hands. "I still don't believe this is real," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. Simone stepped closer, offering her that same steady look she'd given Naomi years ago in the jewelry shop. "Believe it," she said softly. "You did the work. You earned every inch of this." Camille nodded, wiping a tear from her cheek. "I got a call last week," she added, her voice catching. "Children's Hospital, New Orleans, pediatrics. They offered me a position, full-time. I start next month." Naomi gasped, then launched herself into her mother's arms, the diploma crumpling slightly between them. "You're going to be the nurse you always dreamed of," she whispered. Camille smiled through her tears. "I already am, because of you." That night, in the apartment they now rented just a few blocks from campus, a cozy two-bedroom filled with color, with bookshelves lined with textbooks and family photos, and a kitchen that always smelled like rosemary and comfort. They celebrated. Simone arrived just after sunset, carrying a casserole dish wrapped in a dish towel and a bottle of sparkling cider tucked under her arm. She handed Camille a small envelope, her smile modest, almost mischievous. "There's something I've been working on," she said gently. Camille opened it carefully. Inside was a letter of admission, a recommendation and conditional offer into LSU's Master of Science in Nursing program. Simone's foundation had offered to sponsor her continued education, if she wanted. Camille laughed and cried all at once, clutching the letter to her chest as Naomi clapped her hands and pulled Simone into a hug. The three of them sat around the dining table that night, no spotlight, no headlines, just the quiet radiance of a life reclaimed, sharing stories and lasagna and plans for the future. As the clock crept toward midnight, Simone rose to leave, pressing a kiss to Naomi's forehead and whispering, "Keep believing, sweetheart. You have her fire. The world's gonna need it." Each Christmas after that, without fail, a small brown package would arrive at their door, wrapped in simple paper with no return address. Inside always was a snow globe, each one different. One year a nurse standing tall beside a hospital bed, another a little girl in a bookstore, another a mother and daughter walking hand in hand through falling snow, and always a folded note. Keep believing in miracles. Sometimes they begin with a single act of love. And Naomi knew in the deepest part of her soul that what had begun as a gift for her mother had become something much bigger, a movement, a legacy, proof that even in the quietest corners of the world, a child's heart can open doors wide enough for someone else's dream to walk through. Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.